2012 Acura TL. If you are feeling a little bit of jerking, clunking noise when it's shifting gears, um, the only thing I could tell you is to check your motor mount. I found out mine was pretty much torn, so every time it shifts gear, you can actually feel it shifting instead of the motor mount absorbing the shifting. So I'll go ahead and replace the front motor mount. I've never done it before, so this is kind of like a guinea pig setup. So I'll take you on the little DIY, I suppose, and then let's get to it. Since I've never really found any videos of how to do the motor mount for the front on the 2009-2014 TLs, figure might as well give it a shot. I already got the mount. I was just kind of playing around on what's the best way to take this off. So far what I found is to obviously pop the reservoir cover. It just slides off. I did take the fan off for the front, so you only need a 10 mil here. It'll have a 10 millimeter bolt on the bottom. You don't have to take off the bolt on the bottom completely, as the bolts kind of slide in here, and that's how you kind of guide it. So you can see the bolts are still underneath. It's these two right here. That's one, and then that's another one, and it just slides up. Obviously don't forget to unplug the plug itself. There will be two clips. It'll be one of these and the one for the radiator fan. So that's all you really need. That one's mounted here and that one's mounted here. So we'll proceed and start taking everything off. I forgot to mention that it would be best for you to unplug the O2 sensor and just kind of move this wire around. It was clipped onto here, so just press on that. Also, there's also another clip right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it just kind of pops off as well. It's just a little tab. So go ahead and do that and we'll start taking the bolts out. Before you start taking off any bolts on the motor mount, make sure the bottom of the motor is supported. Please put a block of wood underneath. That way you don't damage the oil pan. All you're doing is pretty much taking off the weight from the motor mount itself, so you can start taking it off. But yeah, that's what it should look like. You don't have to jack it up high, just jack it up enough to where it kind of sits on top of the jack. So that's what it looks like. First bolt you have to take off would be these two top ones for the bracket. They are, let me double check real quick, 17s. I prefer for you to use a wobble socket. That way it'll kind of fit in between the EGR port or exhaust port. So I already got everything loosened, so just take that off and take that bracket off, and we'll be accessing the 4 bolts that hold the actual motor mount. So let me go take this off real quick. Take that bracket off, make sure you don't lose that. I'll place everything here. It's the bracket. So that should expose all the bolts that you need. I believe that's, I can't remember what size that is, but I would say it's maybe 14s. I will go ahead and try real quick and show you what that looks like. So these bottom bolts are 14 mil. As you can see, I got the wobble set. I mean, that's kind of how long you need it to be just to reach that bottom. Just to kind of show you how easier it is with the wobble compared to a straight. I was able to take it off with a little bit of curve like that. So these ones are pretty straightforward, but the wobble do help. So as you can see, kind of I can go either direction. So I already got everything loosened up, so I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this bolt, and that should release the old motor mount, which is pretty much causing the vibration on my motor. So I believe that's another 14, so I'll go ahead and slowly loosen that, and then let's move on to the next step. So I got that thing loosened up. I did end up using breaker bar just to get more leverage, because that bolt is pretty tight. So it is a 14 mil. So get that thing loosened up real quick, and this should be the only bolt that would hold the motor. Go loosen that out. Overall, this is actually not that hard to do. proper tools do make it a little bit easier and faster. So the Milwaukee does break a lot of the pain in the ass bolts that take a while to remove. So once we get that out, so pretty much the motor mount and the bracket is pretty much loosened. So I'm going to take those 4 bolts completely off, and we should be able to get the motor mount out. Once you got all the bolts loosened, don't just start yanking on the parts or the motor mount itself, because it is a vacuum type motor mount. So you will have to release the vacuum port from underneath, which is this. It's connected underneath. So I find it easier to just remove it from the actual metal piece or metal vacuum line, and then pull the whole motor mount out and transfer it over. So that's a lot easier in my opinion. So you can do it that way, or you can do it a different way, all the same, as long as you get that out. Let's go ahead and pull the motor mount. Now that you got the vacuum poured out, just go ahead and put this bracket down underneath the subframe, and then jack the motor up a little bit and then start sliding it off. As you can see, my motor mount is completely shot, so that's what's going to cause you to feel like a hard shifting and things like that. So I'll go ahead and kind of wiggle this shit around, and then we'll be moving on to the next step, because I need both of my hands for this one. If you are having issues taking off the mount with just one fan, I was able to remove just these 2 bolts and kind of move it this position, so just to give it enough room for the motor mount to kind of wiggle itself out. If I can do this one with one hand, I had it out, I had to put it back in there just to kind of show you. So I guess I'll go ahead and need both of my hands for this one again. So I'll show you what that looks like once it's off. So I ended up having to remove the other fan. There's just a couple of clips down there that holds to the fan, so you're gonna have to get underneath and take that off, and then one plug for the fan itself. My old one is pretty much beat up, so here's what it looks like. It's not really supporting anything, so that's what's gonna cause your excessive engine movement, and pretty much when you shift you'll feel it. So, but it was time to replace it anyway. So I pretty much have the new motor mount installed. I already got the fan installed back. I'm gonna go ahead and put the bracket in, install the fan back, plug the fans, pretty much start her up.